Yahoo Sports. Tuesday, December 10th. I cannot believe it's 15 days till Christmas. I cannot wait till this entire holiday is over, but I'm sure no one's surprised that I'm a complete Grinch about it. Coming off of a 9-game slate that did not go my way, and that was not entirely unexpected. I was either going to take it all or take none of it, and none of it was significantly closer to fact. I am joined by Adam Scher. Adam, how did your Monday shake out?
Not great. Nowhere near as good as my Sunday did, but relative to how most NBA days have gone for me this year, it wasn't the worst.
That'll work.
Yeah, it's all about perspective.
It is. You can have your best day and still be down over a certain range. All
right, man. It hasn't been that bad.
But... No. That not you personally. You can go 2-3 weeks and your best day is still a bad day.
Oh yeah, no question.
Those are not the best. Yeah, that wasn't a directed dig.
Congratulations on losing $1,000. That was your best day of the season.
Yeah. Congrats on getting negative 15% back. And congrats on that being the best it's been. I've got a lineup study up for last night. Seems like a good day to take a look at some of the bigger things that happened yesterday. I know at least one thing that you and I are going to want to take a look at because it didn't go our way. Winning lineup in the $12 from DK yesterday was one of 3 bullets. We'll hit on that lineup first, and then we could take a look at some exposures. One thing first and foremost. Okay, we are live. Good. Just making sure. For some reason, I felt like YouTube wasn't hitting, but it is. It is. Winning lineup last night. Corey Joseph, 1.3% owned. Bogdanovich, getting 19.75 fantasy points. Paul George, Sabonis, Towns, Alec Burks. Whew, that's bold. Gordon Hayward, obviously, and Brandon Ingram. We'll take a look back at the ownership. Gordon Hayward ended up at 80% ownership in the $12. If you look at just the people that played 150 max, do you have any guesses as to what it ended up at?
100?
It's not, but...
I was looking at me, Alex, and one other person, and we all had 100.
Yeah, 96.5, which is, what it should have been. And
but he was coming back from an injury, Josh.
Yeah. He could have been coming off of an amputation, and I probably would have still had him at 96.5%. Like, it's... I can't think back to a time where there was a more... I don't want to say incorrect, because, that's not really, the best way to describe that, but I can't think of a more off price that we've had in the past couple of years.
No, me neither. I don't really know why it happens. Why... What are you gaining, as a site or for the gameplay experience by lowering someone's price down to the minimum when they're hurt? It doesn't affect anything except for if they come back earlier than you notice, then it's just like a ruined slate.
My guess is that they have they're bucketing these things on a day-to-day basis so that you can only have so much of each individual tier, and that they don't have some sort of mechanism that excludes guys that are in or out. So it's just broad pricing. So they just dump everybody to the bottom and keep sorting. That's the only way that it makes any sense to me. But no, it makes the slate worse when something like this can happen. Because all we have to do is just continually talk about how you should be playing him in every lineup. And then you'll get the 20% of the field that's just gotta fade him at 80%, bro. And he went for 9.1x last night, 27.25 fantasy points. It was a perfectly median outcome for Gordon Hayward. And at that number, it becomes irrelevant because he's just in everything.
I think one of my favorite Hayward-related tweets I saw was at Sal. And Sal had just tweeted the night before that Hayward was $3,000 on DraftKings. And someone replies and is like, some guys look for an edge, and some guys, when they have an edge, can't help but give it away to everybody. #idiots, #bad gamblers. Gordon Hayward at 3K, and it goes to your point on making the slate worse. It's not really the edge because it's so obvious.
Yeah, there is no edge. It takes some of the edge away because I now have less roster spots.
Right.
It's rough. Second most owned guy yesterday, Kyle Lowry, 49%. You had him in 70. Alex had him in 65. he immediately flew to the top of my exposures as well. Didn't turn out all that well. Had a really piss poor shooting day. For some reason, the Raptors thought the Bulls were good, and it didn't go well. So thanks to Toronto. Then we had the obvious play of Paul George. Should have been projected for 62.75, in my opinion, which is exactly what he scored. You came in quite a bit under the field. Alex under the field. The 150 maxers, quite a bit under the average for the entirety of the contest. So Paul George was 40.5. If you look at just the 150 maxers, Paul George was 32.4.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It has nothing to do with Paul George.
Yeah.
He was obviously a very, very good play. He was also projected to be higher owned and actually higher owned than all the guys around him. And you're talking about just at that position, you had Siakam, you had Ingram, you had, Sabonis. And then, across positions, you had guys like Drew and Hield. And it was just guys that project very similarly. And when you consider range of outcomes and ownership, it's you're going to end up underweight on the 40% guy and overweight on some of those other guys.
Not to mention Paul George in this spot, given Kawhi being out, is like the most publicly visible narrative that is going to hit that contest. Naturally going to pull up a casual ownership amount. All makes perfect sense to me. That much I can say. I have no concept of how much I had. Less than the 30 or the 40.5. That much I know. Once all that value started coming out, it started getting a little squirrely with where my exposures were going. Other guys that we should touch on here. Jahlil Okafor went for 19.5, 3,400. Alex played 0. He was owned 20%. You played 76. I thought I was crazy coming off a live before lock playing 69%. You told me to hold my beer. Would you change it?
I don't think so. I definitely stand by the play. I mean, he was in massive foul trouble. That's all that happened in that game. He still played 22 minutes. The reason that I played so much was even when Lofty and I talked about it on the deeper dive, and they had announced he was starting, it was still like, we talked about it like he definitely could start because he's otherwise you have Hayes out there giving up like 60 pounds to Andre Drummond, that Okafor is the logical guy to put out there.
Yep.
And then they announced him as the starter. So it was kind of like, obviously he can get into foul trouble quickly. Obviously he could just get bullied and Alvin Gentry is just like, whatever, screw it, put Hayes in because it doesn't matter. But the plan, at least, I think, was for Okafor to play as many minutes as he could stay on the floor for, which turned out in this case to be 22. But when you're talking about a $3,400 guy that is a productive fantasy player that in his range of outcomes has 30 plus minutes, because again, I think that if he's not in foul trouble, he's playing huge minutes in that particular matchup. And at only 3,400, it's still pretty tough to fail. I mean, he still went for almost 6x, which it doesn't help you, but it doesn't, necessarily kill you.
Yeah.
The one thing that sucked about getting so much of him, and it had nothing to do with him, is that as a result, I end up getting more, not that I was even really upset about it, but like a lot of my, what would have been, Siakam or Ingram or Drew or Sabonis or whatever turned into like Drew and Lowry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of, I think, underweight on all of those forwards except for Ingram. So I think I probably would have had a little bit more exposure to them had I not been as high on Okafor, but that's still being results oriented, knowing that, George and Sabonis just went nuts. If they go for 40, I'm not even thinking twice about it.
Yeah, 100%. I had the same trickle down effect. Mine went to Russell Westbrook, but same principle that you're talking about. You open up value at a big position, you are naturally going to get more of the more expensive guys at the non-big positions.
Right.
It's just how that's going to work. There wasn't really a pay down option at point guard last night. Once this value opened up, I immediately got a ton, and I was just like, huh. And then I looked through, and it was like, oh, this is the only place that I don't have a $3,700 so-and-so to jam in here. Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing for Okafor. It was... I wasn't happy about it clicking submit lineups. I assume you weren't. Like, it didn't leave me feeling, excited, because I knew that the range of outcomes were incredibly wide.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it though, because the news came out so late that I knew, obviously Hayward was going to be 1,000,000% owned.
Yeah.
I knew Okafor wasn't going to be that popular, and it's not like it was an Abdel Nader type guy where it's just like, okay, well, cool, I'm getting this guy who, if I'm lucky, will give me 0.8 fantasy points per minute. Like, he very easily could have gone out there and scored you. He could have very easily 10x'd.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been weird at all. So the range of outcomes, I agree. I knew it was wide, and I knew that there was a chance that I ended up just kind of taking a bath because Okafor didn't do what I wanted him to. But as far as getting a guy at relatively low ownership for his salary and stuff, I was actually pretty excited about it.
That's the better way to say that. Just knowing that, like, that could have been anywhere from like 6 minutes to 30 minutes is just, right. You rarely see that sort of widespread in playing time. That was the thing.
Yeah, I mean, the last game he started, when they tried to match him up with Steven Adams, he played 9 minutes.
Right. Yeah, the playing time variability is when I'm not comfortable. If I'm confident in the playing time, then I'm good to go. But that one was just like, he might play this first rotation, pick up 3 fouls, and never see the floor again.
Basically what happened.
Yeah. That's just quite the blast. We had no player hit 10x yesterday. The highest value player of the slate, can you name him?
Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward. Comical. After all of that, the highest, and he didn't even 27.25, which was probably around where I had him projected, if I had to guess. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Number 2, Daniel Gafford. 27.25 as well at 3,100. Lot of garbage at the top. Gafford, Mikal Bridges, Marc Gasol, Corey Joseph, Willie Cauley-Stein went for 35.5. PJ Tucker went for 37.25. Highest scorer on the slate though, Giannis, 68.25. Actually got to play 34 minutes. Who knew?
Yeah, crazy what happens when they actually play a competitive game.
He was 6% owned. You had 8. Alex had 2. We're going to see his price come down?
I don't think it should. I hope not.
Yeah. I kind of hope a little bit, just to like...
I get too much of him as it is.
Really? Okay. Giannis, Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns, top 3 scorers from last night. Let's see. Who's the weirdest top scorer? Ja Morant getting to 41.5. Welcome back. Alec Burks, I guess, going for 41.25 is the true weird one. Nope.
I think I had him projected for like 30 plus.
Burks?
Yeah.
That's another one where I had no idea who was going to play anymore. I don't know what to do with that stupid Warriors team.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
I guess Steven Adams going for 41.75 is probably the real one.
Yeah. That's, I think, 2 games in a row for him, or 2 out of the last 3.
He's finally getting healthy. I don't know. That's really all I've got for yesterday's slate. On to the next one here. 4-gamer. First, Yahoo Sports, the only place that you can become a baller, the presenting sponsor of this show. I'm going to drop the link into chat right now for the Cash Building Blocks article, which is Emacs article. You read the article and head to the bottom, click the link, use the promo code AWESOMO when signing up at Yahoo, get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. You're going to see lower management fees, a lot of 10 max contests, so you don't have to compete as much with the 150 maxers. You should see softer competition. It's just a really good place to start your day for DFS, so highly recommend you guys go check out Yahoo Sports. Transform, reset. Got to make Adam and I the normal size again. There we go. And if you want to sign up at Awesemo, use the promo code NBA Strategy, one big word, and you can get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Today's free content going to be the lineup builder for both NHL and NBA. So if you want to check out our lineup builder tool, it's not an optimizer. You're selecting these people manually, but you get to see Alex's rankings, ownership. You get to find out if your lineup is contrarian or not contrarian. You can check and see. Why don't I just pull it up? That's probably easier, huh? Give everybody a little peek behind the curtain. You just head to the homepage. In the tools section, you'll see lineup builder. You can go straight to it. This is normally populated with people. It doesn't fill out until Alex posts his projections. but it will build out a full lineup for you after you select everybody. It'll give you a GPA, so sort of like your standard grade point average, with 4.0 being the best. You can try to figure out how to optimize your lineup relative to ownership. Highly recommend you guys check it out. I think we're ready to just get started here. 4-gamer, not all that entertaining. Good games, or at least good game. Sixers Nuggets. Rest of it should be, well, it should be something. This first one's going to be a doozy. You ready?
Yep.
Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards. Battle of the bottom. 115 implied total for the Hornets, 116.5 for the Wiz. Hornets 8% worse than average defensively. Wizards 4% worse than average. We'll start on the Charlotte side. For FanDuel, Graham, Rozier, Bridges, and Washington all 23% or higher in ownership. Add Zeller and Biyombo to the double-digit guys on DraftKings. Right now, I think that Miles Bridges stands out the most for me. 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,100 on DraftKings. What stands out most to you from the Hornets?
Well, I like all of them, but Bridges' minutes came back up last game, which was good to see. I think they'll still be kind of volatile, but Rozier at 7,400 is kind of nice. I think I agree with you, though. Bridges at 51 is probably the most appealing.
Yeah, Rozier 7,200 on FanDuel, intriguing. 7,400 on DraftKings, a little bit less so. $24 on Yahoo, probably his best price. Graham, fine. PJ Washington at 26% ownership on FanDuel is not all that fun to me, but
really, really wide range of outcomes as far as minutes go.
Right. What do you think of Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo being at 15% and 10% respectively on DK?
I have no idea what to make of their minutes. But with it being a 4-game slate, I think you should be rostering them, just hoping you get on the right side of it. Biyombo at 3,800. I mean, it's a spot where he can just stay on the floor if they wanted to. He's only 3,800. Like I like the idea of going to him because even if he only plays, like 18 minutes, he probably does okay at that salary, but he could play 26 and be a guy that you have to have. So I like Biyombo more than Zeller since he's like $800 less expensive.
I'd like to. I don't know if I like either guy, but that feels wrong. I feel like I need to like one of them.
I mean, I think you should just be rostering both and hoping that one of them gets there.
Yeah, the guy that
I don't think there's any way to confidently project Biyombo plays X amount of minutes, Zeller plays Y amount of minutes. I think that they combine to play something like 38 or 40.
I have them for 40 right now. 22 to Zeller, 18 to Biyombo. That feels close enough, I guess. This should feel like a better spot, but I don't feel like anybody really has incorrect pricing. Like, this should be fantastic for the Hornets. Second highest implied total behind just the Wizards. They're getting some extra possessions in this game. Defense isn't anything you need to worry about. But for some reason, they're just not as appealing as I would have expected. Yeah,
that was kind of the same thought I had when I first looked, was like Washington, Charlotte. I was just like, oh, this is one of those games where it's kind of sucks for real life purposes, but it's just going to be all these plays that I love. But the pricing is, I think, pretty much correct.
Any interest in MKG?
He did play 23 minutes last game.
He did indeed. I gave him 18. Who the hell knows there, obviously.
Was Batum out that game?
No Marvin Williams.
No
Batum as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean that affects that, obviously.
Sure. Shouldn't matter, right?
But it shouldn't matter how.
Like, he probably shouldn't matter today. He's going to be the seventh best Hornets option.
Yeah. $3,700 Batum is kind of interesting.
It is, isn't it?
I hate Batum, but...
Yeah. 0.72 FanDuel points per minute over his last 30 days. Not great.
No, it's just that he's cheap and he's facing the Wizards.
Batum was a DNP CD.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I thought he was hurt.
God, he is sort of hurt. Pride's hurt.
Yeah.
Too many baguettes. All right, rank the Hornets for DJ.
Then yeah, MKG is okay if he has an actual path to like 20 minutes.
Rank your Hornets.
Bridges, Biyombo, Graham, Rozier, Zeller.
I would go Bridges, Rozier, Washington, Graham. Blech.
Yeah.
Don't like it. Don't like it at all. Let's go to your Wiz. Obviously, still no Thomas Bryant. Going to be out for quite a bit. No Isaiah Thomas, going to be out for about a week, I think I saw. So we've got Ish at 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK. He's still probably not even my favorite play here. I think it might still be Beal, but hard to not like Ish at that price tag on both sides.
Yeah, I was hoping it would increase a little bit more because I'm getting really tired of Chalk-ish. But yeah, he's fine. It's a good matchup. He should play 32, 33 minutes, assuming it's competitive. He's been reasonably productive. Like, he's not a bad player. It's just that he's not a dominant offensive player, and he is playing alongside Bradley Beal. But that price tag's still really, really reasonable.
Especially on this 4-gamer against the Hornets, who are just atrocious.
Yep.
So Ish is going to be the guy that I would expect to get more Ish than anybody else from the Wizards, at least as of right now. We've got Bradley Beal in the 30s in ownership. Mo Wagner's at 16 on FanDuel and 35 on DraftKings. Rui, Ish, Bertans, Troy Brown on FanDuel, all roughly around 20. Rui at 30 on FanDuel. Who's your second, or what else do you like from the Wizards, I guess?
I think it's a nice bounce back spot for Wagner. He only played like 18 minutes against the Clippers, but Charlotte's been atrocious overall defensively, but their interior defense as well.
I was going to say, just you can end that sentence right there at atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Wagner's in a nice bounce back spot. He's someone that I would like, especially if his ownership is down coming off the last game. I think that there is still a pretty wide range of outcomes for him, but he'd be appealing. Jan Mahinmi got up to 18 minutes. That's interesting. He's still he jumped to 3,900 though. He's not still 3K. Yeah. So that makes it less appealing. Troy Brown's price tag really jumped as a result of his 35 minutes. I have no confidence he plays close to that again. So I think that it's Beal, Smith, Wagner, and then I'm still fine with taking shots on Rui and Bertans as well. But their prices have come up to, I think, where they should be.
Okay. Yeah, so for me right now, Ish, Beal, Wagner are the three clear pieces. Rui, a little bit more filler than maybe the 30% ownership is pointing out, at least on FanDuel. But what are my choices? It is a relatively thin power forward spot with Bam at the top at 8,600, and then the next closest guy is Jabari at 6. Nope, those aren't sorted by salary. Still Bam at 8,600. You get to like Horford, Julius Randle. So $6,600 Rui, not exactly outside the realm for me.
Really good bounce back spot for Beal.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, look at who he's played since these injuries. Orlando, Philly, Miami, Clippers. Usage rates of 39.2, 38.1, 29.2, and 29.1. But again, these are against defenses that have defenders that can, make life really, really tough for Beal. Not so much the case here for Charlotte. I think this is a spot where I'll be pretty comfortable just getting back to a ton of Beal after not really rostering him against the Clippers all that much.
So let's compare him to some of the other guys at the top. We have Joel Embiid at 9,500, Beal 93, Butler 91, Jokic 9, Dame Lillard 88. I think that's probably where we should draw the line. For me, Beal is the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I think Beal's my favorite.
Okay.
Because you look at Butler is, I think, really comparable because he's going to play big minutes too. He's got a fast-paced matchup against the Hawks. So I think Butler's, good, but I think that Beal, without Isaiah on the floor, you're talking about like a 33, 34% usage rate. And even though it's been down the last couple of games, I think it's likely he gets back up to that. So I expect more usage for Beal than for Butler. Embiid, the minutes aren't comparable between Embiid and Beal. Plus, you have a really slow Denver team that Embiid's going against. Lillard, the minutes are similar to Beal, but the usage probably won't be unless it's like a outlier game for Lillard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they all just kind of Beal checks off all the boxes. He plays huge minutes. He's going to have possibly one of the highest usage rates, if not the highest usage rate on the entire slate. And he's playing a terrible, terrible defense.
31% expected ownership for Beal on DraftKings. Butler at 32, Embiid at 29, Dame at 26, Nikola Jokic at 4.
It's interesting on Jokic.
I don't disagree with it. He's last for me in that group, but
yeah,
30, 30, 30, 34 felt different.
Yeah, it's more that every time I see it, I'm just like, man, getting some Jokic here would be cool. And then I like go through all the numbers, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I'll have 0.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have Butler at 32, Beal at 31, Embiid at 29, and Lillard at 26, what I will probably end up having happen is whoever my lowest projected out of that group is, which I'm guessing will be either Embiid or Lillard, I'll end up taking like a lot less from them and then just like jamming Bradley Beal.
Yep.
And then probably coming in around the field on the other two.
Makes sense to me. Anybody else we need to touch on here? Thoughts on Troy Brown at 4,600 on FanDuel, or
I think he's a better Brown's a better FanDuel play since he's cheaper than he is on DraftKings. He did play 35 minutes last game. I don't want to get too confident in that because Scott Brooks has not played him a lot of minutes in a lot of situations where I thought he would. So I don't want to read into that too much, but at least knowing if he's playing well, that can happen is good. He jumped to 5K on DraftKings. So I think on both sites, you're kind of paying for that most recent game more than his medium projections. But obviously, because of roster limitations and the cheaper salary on FanDuel, he's a better play there.
It's a little tricky for me. We got Cam Reddish, $700 cheaper than him, depending on where his projection comes in. And then even more interesting, Derek Jones Jr. is the flat minimum on FanDuel. I think that's probably enough for this gross game. This one's going to be a fantastic real game. Not so sure it's a fantastic DFS game. Lowest total for the slate. Sixers 104.5 implied total. Nuggets 100.5. So Philly 4-point favorites at home. Josh Richardson is questionable. Philly is 10% better than average on a per possession basis in allowing fantasy points. Denver 4% better than average. So two fantastic defensive teams. Not exactly a speedy game. We've got Embiid, Simmons, Harris, and Horford all in the 20s in ownership on FanDuel. They're all 15 to 30 on DraftKings. I do not expect to have that much Philadelphia. The guy that stands out most to me is Embiid, 10-4 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DK. But that even still just sort of looks like an average projection for me. What do you think about Philly?
Yeah, I think Embiid's the one that stands out the most. Horford right behind him, but it's just not a game that I really want to get to all that much. Only a 206 total, which is incredibly low and by today's standards. Really, really slow matchup. Embiid is perfectly fine. Like 9,500 on DraftKings is I think just too cheap of a price point for Embiid considering how productive he is on a per minute basis. But when you start comparing him to those other guys like we were talking about before, that's where it gets kind of tough. Obviously I expect around 32, 33 minutes here. So I haven't projected around 50 points, which is good. But beyond that, it kind of falls off for me. Like Horford's still reasonably priced, should play around 32 minutes. Simmons and Harris, I think, are a little bit less appealing to me because they're a little bit more expensive than Horford.
Yeah, this seems like a game I'm going to have less than the field on. Embiid for 45 on Yahoo, I probably like the most out of anything that I'm seeing. Just does not feel like a great spot. If Richardson ends up out, do you expect to get to the Korkmaz, Ennis, Thibault group in some way?
Probably not. They've just, like 3,500 Korkmaz is okay, but I just hate this game. I hate the matchup. Like, I don't expect to get to a lot of it.
Okay. It's going to be a tough one for the best offensive center in basketball, Nikola Jokic, taking on Joel Embiid. He's not really doing a great job of making that statement for me look good, but yet here we are. We'll head over to the Denver side. Jokic is 8,800 on FanDuel, which I think is appealing. 9K on DraftKings, a little bit less so. We've got Jamal Murray and Will Barton both in the teens in ownership. Millsap getting there a little bit on FanDuel. Nobody really stands out here. I like the $5,500 tag on Will Barton on DraftKings. That's probably my favorite across every site. And then I think that Jokic is more than viable on FanDuel because of the $8,800 price tag. The problem is I think I'd rather have Whiteside, and I'd still probably rather have Mo Wagner. And at that point, now Jokic has become like maybe my third favorite center, and that's not all that interesting on a 4-gamer. What do you want to do with this Nuggets team?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. Barton's the one that looks the most appealing to me on DraftKings at 5,500. Only played 29 minutes last game, but that was kind of a weird game flow game where the Nuggets second unit went on a run in the fourth quarter. They had two separate 6-0 runs within the first 4 or 5 minutes of the quarter. So the starters did sub back in late. Barton and Murray both came back in with 3 minutes to go. Normally, you're going to get Barton coming back in around the 7 or 8 minute mark. So I think that his price tag dropping, it's a good spot to jump back on him and hope that you get back to those 32 to 34 minutes.
Yeah. This is just not an appealing fantasy game. I think that I like it more for the Denver side, but that's faint praise, I think.
Agreed.
You get to any of the non-starters?
Probably not. Like Jeremy Grant's price tag came up to 4K.
Yeah.
So that becomes a lot less appealing.
3,700 on FanDuel for Grant.
Yeah, that's more appealing over there. Obviously, it's the same thing. Like he is going to play somewhere between 21 and 26 minutes, depending on how many Millsap plays.
Yeah. Those two have sort of turned into the Cody Zeller, Bismack Biyombo of Denver.
Right.
Not great. That doesn't make making lineups more fun. That's for sure. Man. I'll watch a little bit of this game because it's, two of the better teams in basketball, but this is a fantasy wasteland.
Yeah, I'm sure I will watch way more of the Charlotte-Washington game.
Lucky you, man. Lucky you. Whew.
Man, the Wizards are fun to watch this year, though. That is actually true.
Is it?
They're a great offensive team that gives up a ton of points. So, yeah.
I guess. I understand the appeal. It's like arena football.
Yeah.
$14.99 super chat from Dave. Projections were fire last night. Keep it up, fellas. Big win. Greatly appreciate that subtle dig to Fields with that message as well. So appreciate that, Dave. Thanks for the super chat. I'll take it either way that I can get it. We are halfway done. It's 10:09. Just kind of what this day is for fantasy. The first game is intriguing but kind of obvious, and the second game is good but terrible from a DFS perspective. So let's do this. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We've got Lofty and Sal taking their first look at Week 15 in the NFL coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Jake will have his hockey show at 4. Alex will also have his game plan show behind the paywall at 4 as well. Adam will be back with Lofty at 5 p.m. to break this down for the deeper dive. Fast Eddie Fear back for Live Before Lock after filling in for me on Friday. We'll be joined by Chris Randone for tonight's live stream. And then tonight, I believe it's at 8 o'clock, but I honestly need to confirm this. Ben Rasa and Jason Roslin talking President's Cup, doing a Live Before Lock golf edition. They've got some sort of captain situation going on with President's Cup. I don't know nearly enough about the golf sitch, but those guys will break it all down for you. That locks tomorrow, so come check it out. And thanks to Michael Driscoll, $19.99 super chat. Just want to thank you guys for all your hard work and analysis. Thanks, guys. Motorbike Mike. That's a really hard thing to say. But thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Hope you're successful. 2 to go. Now, this one might be the most appealing fantasy game for me, and I wouldn't have expected that to be the Miami Heat side of this equation, yet here we are. Heat 112.25 implied total, Hawks 103.25. Little bit of a pace up spot for Miami. Atlanta defense, real bad, 7% worse than average on a per possession basis. We've got no Goran Dragic, no Justice Winslow. I think that's everybody of note. Deion Waiters is questionable. Who the hell knows what that means? I'm guessing he just didn't eat a gummy bear today.
Hasn't yet.
Yeah.
May in the future.
And super relatable problem there for old Deion. Not going to lie. I'm picking up what he's selling, man. I get it. Let's check this out. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys from the Heat on DraftKings projected in double figures in ownership. It's 6 on FanDuel. And then the guy that's at 6% is one of the guys that I would have thought was getting ownership. We'll start with Jimmy Butler. 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,100 on DraftKings. 40% owned on FanDuel, 32 on DK. I think he looks really good. That 40% number feels a little high, but I'm certainly a fan. The problem is I'd rather have Bradley Beal for an extra $100, at least on FanDuel. I'd rather have Bradley Beal as well on DraftKings, but still.
Yeah, I still really like Butler, though. Like, I think it's comparable to Beal.
Yeah.
Kind of, so what ended up happening with me, I think it was the last time Butler and Beal played, was Butler came in at like 40% owned, Beal came in at like 30%. And so I basically had like, I was combined, I was a little bit higher than that, but I think I ended up playing like 65 or 70% Beal and then like 30% Butler. So I just kind of flipped them and then added on a little bit to Beal. I could see it being a similar situation for me today, but I think that it's more likely I just end up with like being over the field on Butler, over the field on Beal, and then cutting back some on some other guys.
Yeah, that's exactly where I think I'll be. Specifically for FanDuel, the value is basically everywhere but shooting guard. So I'm expecting to get 50% plus of Beal, 50% plus of Jimmy Butler, and having lots of Ish and Kent Bazemore and Derek Jones and Mo Wagner and insert other cheap guys here. How do you feel about Bam today? 8,600 and 8,200. Got him in for 35 minutes, looking like a pretty solid option, but not really picking up all that much ownership.
Yeah, I think he's a solid option. He's getting expensive. It's not that I think he's overpriced. It's just getting to a point where if you're prioritizing Beal and you're prioritizing Butler, it starts to get hard to get the Bam. So I don't know, how much I'll get to, but I'm definitely happy with whatever I do get to because I think he's obviously a very productive player. He's playing big minutes. He left the Chicago game briefly with an injury in overtime, but then came back. So seems to be fine. So I'm cool with whatever Bam I get.
All right. Is Derek Jones Jr. the best value play on the slate as of right now?
No.
Okay, just checking. I don't think so either.
I don't believe you.
How many minutes do you have Derek Jones Jr. projected for right now?
Like 22.
Okay, I have him at 26.
22.
So
why?
Maybe that's the issue. Oh, great question.
He played 21 in regulation last game.
Yes, he did.
He did lose 3.5 minutes to foul trouble in the first quarter. But then
now we're at 24.5. We're getting there.
But then he also closed. Like Duncan Robinson didn't play most of the fourth quarter. That's not something you can actually count on. Same goes for Kelly Olynyk. So the minutes are really volatile. I would say that he plays somewhere between 18 and 24.
All right, let's walk that back. How many minutes do you have Kelly Olynyk projected for?
Normally I go to 28. I'll probably go 26 because it's been 2 games in a row now that he hasn't gotten there.
Okay. Follow your lead. That'll get me less Derek Jones, thank God. So Derek Jones looks like a perfectly reasonable value play for the Heat, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it reads now. Look, guys, it's 10:15. I don't dig back into this stuff until 5 o'clock. The point of having someone else on this show with me so they can be like, yo, man, you need to change that immediately. Does grade out really well. Flat minimum on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings. I expect to get a lot of him on FanDuel, regardless of where I set that minutes projection, just because it's a 4-game slate and there's not a ton of value out there. So Kelly Olynyk is at 6% ownership on FanDuel and 24 on DraftKings. 4,500 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DK. What do you make of that?
I'm going to have a ton on DraftKings.
Would you have a ton on FanDuel? He's a center now.
Probably not. I mean, I would still get there.
Yeah.
I think that chances are, or what I would want to do ideally, is assuming Biyombo and Zeller are in that price range, is kind of just be rostering the lowest owned. I do think Olynyk plays the most minutes out of the group, though.
Olynyk 4,500, Zeller 4,700, Biyombo 3,900.
Yeah, like I think I would. Is the ownership similar?
Yes. Olynyk 6, Zeller 7, Biyombo 4.5.
Yeah, I think Olynyk would be my number one guy.
Okay.
If the ownership is similar, just because I think that he, like I said, I'll project him for 26. He has in his range of outcomes 30 plus.
Yeah.
So he would be the guy I prefer if the ownership is comparable.
Okay. Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, just sort of whatever comes in. They just sort of, to me, they're just guys that I'm going to have 15 to 20% of.
Yeah, I mean, Nunn played huge minutes last game.
Yeah.
It was kind of disappointing 2 games ago. He played, I think, like 30 or 32 minutes. Last game, he played 37 in regulation. Hero played 35.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're getting big minutes from those guys. Good matchup. Like, I think that if Nunn's going to be lower owned than Smith, he's a really good pivot.
Nunn is 22 on FanDuel, 22 on DraftKings. Smith is 21 and 22. So,
okay,
same.
So comparable.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think that they're pretty comparable plays. Nunn is, I think, the better offensive player, but Smith is more involved as a facilitator, so kind of evens out. Hero obviously can just take games over. He was really disappointing last game until he scored 11 actual points in overtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they're both good options. They're not guys that I expect to have 60, 70% of.
I'll rotate through both of them. They'll show up a bunch. They won't.
And I like Nunn more than Hero on DraftKings because he's $500 less.
That makes perfect sense.
And they're projected for comparable ownership.
I like Nunn more than Hero on both sides.
Yeah.
Although the positional difference is something to pay attention to. On the Atlanta side, not as much ownership coming in. Only Jabari on DK is in double digits. On FanDuel, a little bit different. We've got Trae Young at 25, Jabari 24, DeAndre Hunter at 13, Cam Reddish at 12. I'd say that $9,600 Trae Young on FanDuel is pretty clearly the best price of anybody on this team. Jabari at 6K, close second. Don't really like Atlanta on DK.
No, I mean, neither. Jabari's the only guy that looks remotely appealing to me.
Yeah.
At 6,200. Miami's a good team defensively, but even on top of that, it's just that the pricing on Atlanta on DraftKings isn't that appealing. Like, you have Trae Young at 10-4. Obviously, he's capable of beating that price tag, but the likelihood of him beating it is just so much lower than guys like Butler and Beal for over $1,000 less. They all have the same ceiling, and you're just paying a premium on Young. So that means that to get there, the ownership has to be pretty drastically different. And that you have to also not be sacrificing too much else in your lineup to get to him. So I don't think I'll end up getting a whole lot of him. You had DeAndre Hunter come back, play 28 minutes off the bench last game. Reddish played 29.5. Herder was at 24. It's just a bunch of guys now who aren't very productive fantasy players and aren't playing really big minutes in a pretty unappealing spot. I just don't really have much of anything.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to get a lot of Trae Young on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Easy to get there. Would you rather have Trae Young or Damian Lillard at 9,600 on FanDuel? Same exact price.
I think Dame.
Okay. I have a slight nod to Trae Young, but it's not like these guys are separated by all that much.
Yeah, I have them close, but I have Dame a little bit higher.
Okay. $2 super chat coming from our boy Legalized. Hit the like button, people. All they ask for. It's absolutely true. Hit that like button. This Hawks side is rough, man. Real rough. Don't really have anybody else I want to point out here. Go Miami, I guess. Late night hammer. Portland Trailblazers, New York Knicks. Blazers 9-point favorites at home, 113.75 implied total, still the third highest of the day. Knicks 104.75. Obviously, no Rodney Hood for the rest of this season and probably next. We've got Dame 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,800 on DK. I'm a fan, but not a big one. Like I said, on FanDuel, I think I would rather have Trae Young. On DraftKings, I'd rather get to Jimmy Butler for $300 more. I'd rather get to Bradley Beal. It's not an indictment on Dame. I mean, I'd much rather have him than, say, Devontae Graham, but I'm not over the moon there. I really like Hassan Whiteside for some reason. 8,600 on FanDuel, 8K on DK. He's popping more than I would have expected.
I mean, he's playing 30-plus minutes when he's not in foul trouble in competitive games. He's obviously a really, really productive player. I think he's a good play.
I think I'm going to have like a stupid amount. Would you rather have Joel Embiid or Hassan Whiteside as your center on FanDuel? Embiid with 8% more ownership.
Not the same price.
No, not even close. $2,000, yeah, $1,800 less.
Yeah, I think I would lean Whiteside. I think so on DraftKings. The problem, like Whiteside's really comparable to Bam, where I'm happy to get to him, but I don't know how much I get to that price point, and I do have Bam a little bit ahead of Whiteside at the same position and basically the same price.
I have Whiteside ahead of Bam in that scenario. Kent Bazemore, I guess, is going to have to be a thing, right? 5,200 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. I have him in for 34 minutes.
Yeah, definitely won't get close to as much as I got last time.
How much did you have?
75%.
Fair enough. I might.
He's just there. I don't know. Like, I don't think he's that good of a DFS guy when he's playing a bunch of minutes alongside Dame and McCollum and Melo.
Agreed. Although I assume he's got like decent steal rates. Just thinking about the player that he is, might be a decent spot against a Knicks team that is, I'm sure, garbage.
Sure. Yeah, like he can still get there. He's still a reasonable value, but I think he's a little underpriced, but not like super underpriced, I don't think.
20% projected ownership feels low on this 4-gamer, given his role.
His role?
In that his minutes are pretty well set to be north of 30 on a day like that.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Not necessarily like the way that he's integrated into the offense.
Yeah. It seems fine to me. Like, I don't know, I would guess I'm like 25, 30. Somewhere between 20 and 30.
I have him as my third best like play relative to salary, so kind of gross.
He's my 5th favorite Blazer.
Really? He is my favorite Blazer, which I use the term favorite incredibly loosely. 5th favorite. I don't even know if I can name 4 other Blazers.
Hint, the other starters.
Yeah. So you would rather have Melo than Bazemore here?
Yeah. Melo's $600 more on DraftKings. He's going to play the same minutes, if not more. He actually has a role in the offense. Yeah, I don't have Melo and Bazemore particularly close.
That's crazy. So I have them separated in my model by 1/100th of a point per minute. They've been separated so far in the past 30 days by 0.03. I think by all accounts, these guys are like the exact same player, depending on how they get to those numbers. We have Bazemore $800 cheaper on FanDuel, $600 on DraftKings. I will for sure be getting to more Bazemore, so we'll be drawing that line in the sand. I'll look down at you from the top.
Yeah. Wait, so you're saying Bazemore and Melo are like the same per minute players?
Yes.
But Bazemore's been playing off the bench.
Sure.
I'm looking now to see. Okay, so I have, with Lillard on the floor, Bazemore this season averaging 0.75 DraftKings points per minute. Melo's at 0.81. They do stagger Lillard and Melo also. But yeah, 17% usage for Bazemore, 20.8 for Melo. So I think I do maybe have Melo's usage a little high.
I'm surprised they're as close as they are, honestly. I wouldn't have.
Yes.
I wouldn't have guessed that if like you covered my screen up before this started. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, Melo has a 25% usage rate, but Lillard missed like 2 or 3 entire games.
Yeah.
So since Lillard came back, Melo has a 23.9% usage rate. He's averaged 0.85 points per minute. Bazemore's at 0.75, 16.4% usage. I just think the ceiling for Melo is like leaps and bounds higher than Bazemore.
That feels correct to me. Do me a favor, pull up small forwards on FanDuel and tell me who your favorite is. And then try not to throw up on yourself when you look at it.
Oh my God. Melo, Jones, Bazemore.
Okay. That's fair.
But yeah, and I had a baseline projection for Batum, so I was going to say Batum, but not if he's going to play 0 minutes.
There are 10 guys in my small forward player pool. I'm going to read off their expected ownerships in our projected ownership right now. 21, 17, 16, 23, 22, 19, 12, 16, 12, 21. Basically just like, we're going to pick you and you two go together in this lineup.
Right.
I think that I end up with 60% Miles Bridges, 60% Kent Bazemore, 60% Derek Jones, and hope that those other idiots don't do anything stupid.
Like I just finished adjusting Melo's rate, so now he's even closer to Bazemore in terms of value.
Gotcha. Small forward on FanDuel is as gross as I've ever seen it. Oi. All right, I'm going to get a lot of Bazemore, so buckle up for that one. Whiteside would be my number 2. Flip a coin between Dame and CJ. And I have Melo dead last of the 5.
Yeah, I have Dame 1, Melo 2, McCollum 3. I didn't bump Whiteside's rate. So Lillard, factoring in salary on DraftKings, Lillard, Melo, Whiteside, McCollum, Bazemore.
Anytime you're hitching your wagon to the Kelly Olynyk, Ish Smith, Kent Bazemore, Hassan Whiteside, Miles Bridges lineup that you start with your base is really going to feel good as you get closer to lock.
Yeah. Any particular reason you don't like Dame more? Like, do you not like the minutes or do you not like the scoring?
So I've got him in for 38 minutes. He's been at 1.1 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. In my stuff, I have him at 1.2. So like, even just getting away from that, I don't know. So he is someone that I've been down on most of this season. He's just not been a guy that has been, and I'm not entirely sure why. I have a sneaky suspicion. It's not something that I've looked into. I guess it's something that I could look into. I think that he has a relatively low standard deviation.
You mean like Luka did?
Yes. But obviously a little bit more confidence in the Dame one.
Right.
And I think that that's hurting him in sort of my GPP outlooks.
That's fair. I'd just been kind of, for a lot of the season, I just wasn't projecting him as high as other people because at the beginning of the year, he was just outperforming his rates.
Yeah.
He's not really doing that anymore. But
like, I'm happy with everything that I have in here. I don't see anything that I'm expecting to change a lot. I just think that he sort of stopped having like super highly variant outcomes. But something I want to look at the very least. The simulation had a really funny message in YouTube chat. Yeah, this slate was easier 30 minutes ago. Get where you're coming from there.
Knicks are in the middle of the pack in point per possession defense against pick and roll this year. So pretty neutral for Dame in that regard. But overall, a bad defense.
See where Dame ranks among guys that like play a shit ton. So let's filter these. I'm going to filter possessions to make sure I get everybody above 1,000. And then let's say just guys that are like decent. All right, so that's a list of 94 players. Where does his standard deviation rank? in a list that has Boban at the top, followed closely by Christian Wood. So far, feels great.
Yeah.
Dame is 85th of 90, whatever I said. Probably need to filter that down a little bit further. Probably got slightly too many dudes in there, but because we still, I mean, the guys that are above him are still studs: Durant, Drummond, Drew, Harden, Beal, Russ, LBJ, AD, Kawhi, Giannis. So, but yeah.
Whiteside has been an absolute monster since Melo and Lillard came, or since Melo came and Lillard came back.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to make of it.
I mean, he's just kind of himself, right? Like, it's not.
No, like his rebound percentage is up to 26%. His assist percentage is up to 11.5%.
You wouldn't expect his rebound percentage to go up, right?
And his, well, I don't know. You have Melo tossing up a bunch of bricks.
Yeah, but you also have Melo being like, "Yo, that's mine."
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that was a terrible Melo impersonation.
We have 1.5 points per minute over the 7 games Whiteside has played with them.
Wow. Is it really only 7 games, man? This season's weird.
Well, he missed a game, and then Lillard missed the first 2 or 3 that Melo played.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't really want, like, I don't expect those rates to continue, but they've been there.
Yeah, 1.37 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. I've got him as a 1.38 guy. I mean, he's always been a fantastic per minute performer. Whew. All right, let's talk about the Knicks, I guess. So 4 guys are in double digits in ownership on DraftKings, with Julius Randle at 32% being quite the big number. Let me know if I'm crazy. Do Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Marcus Morris, and RJ Barrett look like kind of good for today?
I was still trying to find the most recent Knicks game on Popcorn Machine, but I got it. It was so December 7th was their most recent, right?
Yes.
Okay. And to answer your question about the Knicks, they look okay. Like, they look better than most of Denver or Philly did. They look better than the Hawks did.
I have Morris, Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and Julius Randle as 4 of my top 13 guys on DraftKings. This slate is going to take days off of my life.
Yeah, so I had Morris's minutes were too low. Barrett's minutes were too low. Yeah, okay, now I'm getting to where you were at.
Okay. Yeah. Marcus Morris popping the most for me. Barrett closely behind him. Randall. Mitchell Robinson at 5,700 popping tremendously. I'm going to have a lot of those 4 Knicks. I don't want anybody else. But right now it's like we've got Mitchell Robinson at 16%, Marcus Morris at 19%, RJ Barrett at 18%. I'm expecting to be north of all 3 of those numbers.
Do you think that Ntilikina plays more minutes because of Lillard and McCollum? I don't know how much the Knicks care about winning. But like
that would make sense.
It would make sense, but also from a development standpoint, Ntilikina should be getting the bulk of the minutes. He only played 19 minutes in the first game with the new coaching staff, but you have at least one of Lillard McCollum on the floor for 48 minutes. Ntilikina's 3,500. He's not that he's a good fantasy player, but if you can get a $3,500 low-owned pivot that potentially plays like twice as many minutes as his last game, that becomes appealing on a 4-game slate.
Should he be getting those minutes? Absolutely.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. Does he? I have absolutely no idea.
He could play 6, and they could give 34 to Elfrid Payton. They could sit all three of those point guards and play Kadeem Allen and RJ Barrett at point guard, and I'd be like, yeah, of course they fucking did.
Right. And they can do exactly what they did last game. They played 19, 12, and 17 minutes.
Yeah. I gave Peyton 18, Ntilikina 20, Dennis Smith 14. And honestly, I don't care. Like, I don't.
That's the thing, though. Like,
there's an answer. There should be an answer there somewhere. I just don't know.
Like, I agree with you on those projections. It's just that with how difficult it is to differentiate on a 4-game slate, I would like to get some Ntilikina just on the chance that he plays the minutes he should play.
I don't disagree. I mean, honestly, they should sit Elfrid Payton and split 48 minutes between Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr. Figure it out.
Yep.
But they're not going to do that. I would imagine.
I mean, Ntilikina played 6, 12. I mean, he played like 14 or 15 first half minutes last game. He just didn't get fourth quarter run because it all went to Elfrid Payton.
I can't wrap my head around these idiots.
I don't know. I think I'm probably going to give Ntilikina like 28. Like, it's still not going to get him in a ton of lineups. It's just going to get him into some, hopefully.
If you put him at 28, you're not going to get a ton of him?
No, it's still Frank Ntilikina. He still projects for like 18 points.
Fair. Sometimes I forget that he's a 0.7 guy.
Yeah.
I'll say this much. I will adjust him so that I have the ability to get exposure.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, if he were a point per minute guy, I wouldn't give him 30 minutes because I'm not saying that I'm not looking at this saying like, yo, there's this huge edge where if you roster Frank Ntilikina, you win a ton of money. It's not that. It's that out of like all the really, really cheap guys we've talked about, he's the one where it's just like nobody's going to pay attention to this because of the last game, but he really could play really big minutes. And then at that point, you're just hoping that on top of you getting lucky with the minutes, you get lucky with him not playing like trash.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be the only guy I would want that's not one of those first four.
I agree.
And you should be very ready for that to fail more often than it succeeds.
Absolutely.
Like way more often. Oh, man. Unbelievable. This is not the most visually appealing slate to look at.
It is not.
Let's sum it up. Favorite plays on DraftKings tonight for you?
I'm double checking something real quick because Lofty just sent us an interesting message.
Oh no!
About Kevin Huerter being backup point guard last game. He's still 4,400. I still don't think I would really get there, but good to know.
Yeah.
All right. So you said best plays on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Butler, Beal, Embiid, Dame.
Butler, Beal, Embiid, Dame.
Kind of all just lumped together. I have them all projected for like between 49 and 51 points.
By giving Kelly Olynyk those extra 2 minutes that we had talked about previously, that I took from Derek Jones Jr., he's now my favorite point per dollar play on DraftKings. So
nice.
Fantastic. All right. On FanDuel for me, point guard is going to be Ish Smith, number one with multiple bullets. Trae Young, a close second for me. Oh, not a close second. Trae Young is second. Shooting guard, Beal and Butler. Easy peasy there. RJ Barrett if you need to save some scratch. Small forward, God, opt out of it if you can. Miles Bridges, Kent Bazemore, Derek Jones. No, I'm not recommending a low ball lineup. Power forward, kind of just as gross. Actually, power forward is worse than small forward on FanDuel because there is no like overwhelming value. It's just a bunch of guys right where they should be. I guess Bam, Rui, Jabari, and then center, kind of mini loaded for a 4-gamer. All of Embiid, Jokic, Whiteside, Robinson, Wagner, Kelly Olynyk are in play. Olynyk, Wagner, and Hassan Whiteside are probably my 3 favorites. I have a weird suspicion now that I'm going to end up with like a lot of Bam Adebayo because of where value is. Because of Ish, because of the Bazemore, Bridges, Derek Jones, and then like the cheap centers, I think I'm naturally going to be getting 50% of Bam Adebayo. There are worse guys that have stands on, that's for sure. Like Terrence Davis and Jahlil Okafor and I don't know, everyone else I played yesterday. Whew. 10:41, 4 games up, 4 games down. I really don't have much else to hit on here. McGrath said, doesn't it seem like some playoff team out there would be interested in Elf once he's eligible to be traded? Probably not.
Depends what their backup point guard situation is.
Yeah.
Like he can defend. He can defend.
I don't think the Knicks they'll probably like attach an asset to get rid of him.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. Who is it? Telemarketer. I'm going to go ahead and pass. Not interested. Whatever you're marketing to me via my telephone. All right. Well, I gave you guys the list of everything that's going on later today. We'll have Laffy and Sal coming up in about 20 minutes. Adam will be back for the deeper dive around 5. But that is it for me. Liverpool Champions League today. Get excited. Get yourselves in front of the old TV screen. Adam, you have anything else you want to touch on?
Definitely not soccer.
Loser.
Nah.
Loser. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit the like button. Go to Yahoo. Use the promo code Awesemo. Get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. And then head to awesemo.com/join. Use the promo code NBA Strategy. One big word. Get yourself 50% off your first month with us. Best of luck on this slate. Tune into the shows for the deeper dive and live before lock. It's going to be one of those days where you're going to want that information. So best of luck tonight, guys. We'll talk to you later.